Well met, Rook.
How did you get here?
I did tell you I had my ways through Illuvians when I introduced you to the Inquisitor, did I not?
The Illuvians in general, yes, but not the Dreadwolf's crossroads.
I would think you have more pressing questions at the moment. Questions about Solas and Mythal?
Mythal?
The two gods have always been linked, have they not? First, when Mythal bade her companion spirit to abandon the Fade and take on mortal form. Then, when Solas spilled Mythal's mortal blood, that he might absorb her power as his own.
Wait. How do you know exactly what we saw of Solas's past?
Think upon it, Rook. You saw for yourself in the Dreadwolf's memories. When Mythal stood against the gods' manipulations of the Blight, she was betrayed and struck down. Yet she survived and returned ages later to aid the Inquisition in its hour of need. How?
The elven gods had access to magic beyond anything we can imagine?
To be sure, but it matters less what they possessed than what they were. You recall that the first elves were spirits, do you not? Mythal was a spirit turned elven. And when her body was struck down, to spirit she returned, her essence sheltered in a willing mortal vessel. Over the centuries she journeyed from host to host, slowly amassing her former power anew. Until once again she was struck down, on this occasion by Solas. He absorbed her power, but not her memories.
Then where did they... Wait. You...
As you say.
If your Mythal returned in Morrigan, we need your help with fighting the gods.
And here I am, as you may notice. But there is something I must make clear.
What? That was like how Elganon and Gillenane can talk in your head, but...
'Twas Mythal you heard, her echoes. Yet I am not the goddess returned.
What are you, then?
I once feared Mythal would consume me were I to carry her, but 'twas not so. I remain free-willed and mortal. What I now possess is but a spark of Mythal, shadowed memories through which to sift for meaning. As to our admixture, I suspect you have questions.
How can you carry Mythal's soul if you're not an elf?
Her spark has sheltered within both elves and humans who were sympathetic to her in thought and circumstance. Mythal's last host was a woman wronged, trapped by those sworn to love her. We may readily imagine their kinship.
So, there's the soul of an elven god inside you. How does that even happen?
Mythal's last host was my mother, Flemeth.
Oh.
When I learned she intended me to become the next receptacle of an ancient god's soul, I feared naught would be left of my own. It inevitably came to pass on a deep night. I was awakened by the presence of a blaze of magic in the shape of a woman who both was and was not my mother.
I don't think I'd recover from that.
Neither did I, at the start. Mythal's memories were both gift and burden, this blazing woman told me, but I must accept them of my own accord. The decision was paralyzing. What would it mean to become such a host? What would be lost if I refused? In the end, 'twas something in my mother's voice which guided me.
What was that?
Regret. Not the regret of a god, but of a mother who knew she would never see me again. And so, my mind remains my own. What I gained was knowledge, both Mythal's and of those who bore her.
You would have met Solas in the Inquisition, right?
I did indeed. 'Twas before I possessed Mythal's memories. At the time, I thought Solus a scowling elven apostate whose sole passion was finding arguments. He heard me, in all my ignorance, expound on the histories of the elven people, explaining legends he had witnessed himself.
Bet he loved that.
'Tis not a memory that brings me pride.
Do you have information we can use against Ghilan'nain or Elganon? Or Solus?
The last time Mythal faced Elganon and Ghilan'nain, she was struck down by the very dagger you now carry.
What about Solus?
You may recall he murdered Mythal's former host to claim her godly might as his own. I hoard no untapped magical secrets, Rook. What I do possess, I share freely with you and the Veil Jumpers.
All right. You didn't come out here just to tell me you're Mythal.
I am not Mythal in her entirety, but yes, the Dreadwolf has occasion to visit you in dreams, where he portions out advice. And now, after finding his memories, you have peered into his deepest sorrows. Tell me then, what do you make of Solus?
I should ask you. Mythal knew Solus better than anyone.
I would influence your answer. Or do you mean to discover if I would stand directly against the Dread Wolf were there a need?
Would you?
I shall aid you in any way but that, even had I the power. What has passed between Solus and Mythal? I beg you, do not ask this of me again.
Solus talks a lot about what has to be done, being forced to make hard choices. But it's like he's trying to talk himself into it. I think, deep down, he doesn't entirely believe what he's saying.
'Tis exactly like the old wolf to tie himself into the most intricate knots. 'Tis not malice which made Solus your opponent, but conviction, a belief that only he may halt what he set in motion. Yet Solus was once beloved of Mythal. 'Tis his very loyalty and love for his people that led to the tragedy we now face. You may be in a position to determine how it ends, more so than either of you might realize.
Maybe there's a way we all get what we want.
Do you truly believe such a thing?
Well, maybe at least what we deserve.
If you would shape the outcome of your battle, I've one last secret to share. When Mythal was struck down by the other gods, it was with her own Lyrium dagger, the dagger you now carry. Solus recovered it from Elganon, and from it extracted a fragment of Mythal that had lain hidden within its depths. This fragment, a younger sister to the one I carry, if you will, resides here, in the crossroads. I can open the way for you. Find her, survive the encounter, and the essence you obtain will aid you in times to come.
Another fragment of Mythal, in addition to the one inside you.
You are aware of what the word fragment means, are you not? One small piece of many, formed when something greater is broken. The first elves were spirits, as you well know, and when a spirit is broken, it may shatter into pieces, each holding part of the original. Among the ancient elves who became known as gods, Dirthaman and his brother, Falondine, are but one example.
All of that sounded great until I survived the encounter.
You know Solus, and have seen Elganon, and memories of Mythal. They are creatures of emotion, as all spirits are. The fragment of Mythal that resides in me lived among mortals for thousands of years. She has grown wiser and more patient. This younger sister has not. She is the essence of Mythal as a god. She is unlikely to listen to polite requests, and though she is but a fragment of the goddess, the battle will test you sorely.
If she's just going to attack us, why tell us about her at all? We have enough enemies already.
A fragment of a god's essence is a powerful thing. It may give you options against Elganon and Ghilanane, or against the Dreadwolf himself, should he prove as cunning and treacherous as ever.
What kind of spirit was Mythal before she became an elf? I know Solus is elven for pride.
Mythal enjoyed ruling and having power, but it came not from the overweening desire to crush resistance, as is the case with Elganon. The emotion that inspired her might best be described as benevolence, a guiding hand, inclined to kindness. But like any spirit, when angered or twisted against her purpose, a more violent aspect arose. Where the Dreadwolf's wisdom gave way to pride when the world did not meet his standards, Mythal's benevolence gave way to retribution. After all, when kindness fails, the guilty must be punished.
If I were to try to talk with her, do you have any suggestions?
She will demand respect, but detest flattery. She appreciates righteous anger, but will not tolerate pity. She is, for want of better phrasing, prickly. But if you are determined to try, then I wish you luck.
You would know this aspect of Mythal better than anyone. Could you try talking to her?
I dare say she would attack me on sight.
Spirits can't get along with fragments of each other.
Spirits, certainly. But the aspects of a self-righteous god who have walked different paths for ages? One bears the insult of her betrayal by the Evanurus, and then by Solus, as fresh wounds, insult upon injury. The other once fell in love with an Alamari chieftain and lived happily in a swamp for centuries. Each reminds the other that another path existed, that they could have been wrong, and nothing angers Mythal like being wrong.
Thank you for the information, Morrigan.
I only ask that you reflect upon what I have said. The Dreadwolf is not so apart from the world as he thinks. There, you have the advantage of him.